This video is going to review the layers of the muscles of the back. The first layer is the superficial layer of the muscles of the back. They're also called the posterior axio-appendicular muscles. In Keith Moore's Clinically Oriented Anatomy, they're on page 700 to 701, and that's the upper limb chapter because these muscles are muscles of the upper extremity or the upper limb. I'm going to list the muscles on the other piece of paper over here. So, the superficial layer of back muscles, the trapezius, the latissimus dorsi, the rhomboids major and minor, rhomboid major, rhomboid minor, and the levator scapulae. So these are all muscles of the upper extremity or upper limb. So since they're not true back muscles, that means they're not innervated by dorsal primary rami. The trapezius is innervated by a cranial nerve, which is somewhat unusual. That's cranial nerve 11, the spinal accessory. Latissimus dorsi, rhomboid major, minor, and levator scapulae, all innervated by branches from the brachial plexus. Okay, so now let's imagine that we've reflected all of those muscles. And the next layer are the intermediate layer of muscles of the back. These are muscles of respiration. In Keith Moore's Clinically Oriented Anatomy, they're on page 88, so they're in the thorax chapter since they're muscles of respiration. And there are only two muscles, the serratus posterior, superior, and the serratus posterior, inferior. Again, those are not true back muscles, so they're not innervated by dorsal primary rami. They're innervated by ventral primary rami or the intercostal nerves. Okay, so now let's say we're going to reflect those two layers. Now we've come to the deep layers, or the deep layer of muscles of the back. These are also called the intrinsic back muscles or the true back muscles. So these are innervated by the dorsal primary rami. They can be found in the back chapter, pages 485 to 489, 3 tables, because there are 3 layers. So the first layer of the true back muscles is the superficial layer, and that's made up of the splenius, capitis, and the splenius cervicis. So that's the superficial layer of the true back muscles, innervated by dorsal primary rami. So now let's reflect that layer. And the next layer is the intermediate layer of the true back muscles. And this intermediate layer is formed by the Erector Spinae. Now the Erector Spinae, which is the intermediate layer of true back muscles, has 3 components to it. And they're not arranged in layers. They're arranged in vertical columns. So from lateral to medial, first one starts with an I, iliocostalis. This is from lateral to medial. Next one starts with an L, longissimus. And the next one starts with an S, spinalis. Okay, so the Erector Spinae is the intermediate layer of the true back muscles. From lateral to medial, iliocostalis, longissimus, spinalis. So now let's reflect that layer. And now we've got the deep layer of the true back muscles. This is the transverso spinalis. They are arranged in 3 layers. So from superficial to deep, deep, semi-spinalis, multifidus, and rotatores. There we go. So I'm going to review once more. So the layers of the back. There are 3 layers of the muscles of the back. The first layer, or the superficial layer, are really muscles of the upper limb, or posterior axio-appendicular muscles. Those are the trapezius, the latissimus dorsi, rhomboid major, minor, and levator scapulae. Muscles of the upper extremity, or upper limb. Primarily innervated by branches of the brachial plexus, except for the trapezius. Intermediate layer of back muscles. Those are muscles of respiration. Serratus posterior superior, serratus posterior inferior. Next layer are the true back muscles. So the deep layer of the muscles of the back are the true back muscles, or the intrinsic back muscles. They're in 3 layers. The superficial layer of the true back muscles, splenius capitis and cervicis. Notice that's only in the head and neck region. The intermediate layer of the true back muscles are the Erector Spinae. Those are arranged in 3 columns, 3 vertical columns, from lateral to medial, iliocostalis, longissimus, spinalis. And then the final layer, the deep layer of the true back muscles, transversospinalis, and that's arranged in 3 layers, semispinalis, multifidus, and rotatores. Remember, all 3 layers of the true back muscles, superficial, intermediate, and deep, are innervated by dorsal primary rami. Here they again. Superficial layer of true back muscles, intermediate layer of true back muscles, deep layer of true back muscles. I hope this overview was helpful.